Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasati, Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're honoring today the Disappearance Day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. And you see the dates by solar calendar when he was born and when he departed this world. He departed this world on New Year's Day, 1937, but by lunar calendar, we're observing is not lunar, solar lunar calendar, Vedic calendar, his disappearance day today. And in those 63 years, he accomplished amazing, superhuman purposes. We see a nice photograph when photography was just getting underway, standing with his sannyas danda in some very ornate background place. Don't know where that is. The biography of his life, written by Rupa Vilas, Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's disciples, was titled The Ray of Vishnu. The title about his life, Ray of Vishnu, came from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as we know, he had 10 children, and at a certain point in time he was praying very intensely to the personality of Godhead to send to him a ray of Vishnu to help him spread Krishna consciousness. Now, at that time, there was no, as it says here, Krishna consciousness movement, but there was certainly Krishna consciousness that he had captured and was vigorously, globally communicating and transmitting and expanding, and he wanted some assistance, so a ray of Vishnu to assist him in that expansion. And much to his surprise, when Bimal Prasad, which was his birth name, was born, these are all well-known stories, but the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck like a Brahmin thread. And later, so we saw his birth was in February, and so Rath Yatra in Puri takes place when? July, traditionally. So about 6 months, 5-6 months after his birth, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the chief magistrate, very high position in the government, he had privileges, and his privileges extended to his wife. So his wife, the cart had stopped, the Rath Yatra cart had stopped pretty much in front of their house, and she climbed up on the Rath Yatra cart and placed the child in front of the deity of Jagannath, because there's 3 carts. And as she placed him in front of the deity, a celebrated event, a garland fell from the neck of the deity and circled around the child. So it was like confirmation, Ray of Vishnu confirmed, or the blessings of Lord Jagannath upon this not even 6-month-old child. He, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, followed closely behind his father. his father trained him, and he received that training, and he didn't imitate. Their style was different, but much of the mood and the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur were assimilated by and furthered by Bhakti Siddhanta. What you see on the screen is a publication, the Vedanta. It's morphology and ontology. And later that was published in a Back to Godhead magazine in 1966, the first Krishna conscious literature that I wrote, so it was very significant. On the center of the cover, you see the logo of Gaudiya Math, and it's in Bengali. So we'll take a closer look at that logo, both Bengali and English. And he, Bhakti Siddhanta, published this pamphlet, short, small book, in 1933 on the occasion of the appearance day of his father. So his father had departed, but in honor of his father, he published this booklet. And here's a little description. Originally an English lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam, delivered in Dajinapur in 1859. 1869. So 1869, that's before Bhakti Siddhanta was born. So it's a lecture given by his father. I need the, there's a glasses, glasses case on the desk, and it has reading glasses because I need them. Let's bring it closer. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur was around 36 years old, and he gave a lecture of this title. The Bhagavad, a little bit longer, its philosophy, its ethics, and its theology. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very learned person, and he knew the Vedic text, the Srimad Bhagavatam for starters, the Orthodox Hinduism of the time. So he had an uphill battle. You can call it a battle, because Gaudiya Vaishnavism had receded. That's it. Gaudiya Vaishnavism had receded, which means it had practically become obscure, and what was left was deviations. In fact, one of his 100 books was a book describing the 13 Upasampradayas. And this one teaches this, and that one teaches that, and that one teaches something else, and they all have their doctrine, originating from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but deviating from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you can see his scholarship. He knew the field. And in this particular lecture, he is speaking about deviations not just in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but in a broader sense, Orthodox Hinduism. Now, what's Orthodox Hinduism anyways? It's also an aberration. It's not something original and genuine, because there's no such thing. But how the persons who are followers of the Vedas had, and what was considered at that time of orthodoxy amongst the followers of the Vedas, and I'm sure you get n number of different opinions about what that is, but he expressed this in a public lecture. And generally, in academic circles, when you give a significant lecture, there's a paper that goes with the significant lecture. or a little book or a little booklet or something that's in writing, which persons who attend the conference or the lecture can refer to the written, so they can refer back and understand what is being said and the scriptural references to support what's being said and everything. It's a standard procedure. You speak something and you write something, and they go together. So, flaws in Orthodox Hinduism, that was a mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which meant to simultaneously establish the proper understanding of Hinduism, or that group of people that try to live by the Vedas. And so he then had his own organization. Bhakti Siddhanta called it the Gaudiya Math, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur called it the Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj, the followers of Lord Brahma. So knowing what that paper was and the lecture, the essence of the lecture and what the paper was, Bhakti Siddhanta, because our topic is Bhakti Siddhanta, he took that information and presented it in what you see on the screen here. Vedanta, its morphology and ontology. And later, in 1969, it was published in a Back to Godhead magazine. It wasn't called the Vedanta, it was called the Bhagavad. But in any case, it's his composition, and just sharing that the first Krishna conscious literature I got was a Back to Godhead magazine that had this particular article as a feature article of the magazine. So it made a profound effect. Here's the logo of the Gaudiya Math, and on the left side is Vidhi Marg, and on the right side is Raga Marg. And they're both cases, they're scriptures. On the left side, along with deity worship, there's Pancharatra, and on the right side, the Raga Marg, that's the Srimad Bhagavatam. And down in the lower, this version, Bengali version, in those 6 pointed stars, there's Nama at the center, which applies to both Vidhi and Raga Marg. And then there's essential teachings. This is his logo. Shri, let's go from the upper top. Yasha, Shri, Jnana, Vairagya, Aishvarya, Virya. So corresponding to Vidhi is Aishvarya and Virya. Common to both Vairagya and Yasha. And then on the right side, Shri and Jnana. But knowledge that's not like worldly knowledge, or even the knowledge of Aishvarya. It's knowledge of Rag. So Bhagavatam includes all of that, and therefore principal literature for followers of Lord Chaitanya. There's a celebrated event that lasted his whole life. When he was very small, his father was doing his puja for his deity, and before the mango was offered, his 3-year-old son took the mango and ate the mango. And very mildly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said to Bhakti Siddhanta, "You ate the mango. This is not good. It wasn't offered to Krishna yet." So from 3 years old, he took a vow, I'll never eat mango again in my life. And he upheld it. There's stories. It's in Raya Vishnu. But sometimes he would be offered by his disciples. And, mangoes in Bengal during mango season, like abundant and very popular. and very, very tasty. But he would decline, saying, I'm an offender. And it's remarkable that he took something you say when you're 3 years old and lasts for your life. At the age of 7, seeing the acumen of his son, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave his son a deity. And the deity is pictured here. It's a Kurma deity. And the commemorating the event of giving him the deity, he recited the entire Bhagavad Gita from memory. At 7. Because sometimes children are good at reciting. And you ask, try it. Ask, could you explain this verse? And they look at you like you got a hole in your head. They don't know those who know the verses, commonly they don't know the meaning. But at the age of 7, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur not only memorized the Bhagavad Gita, but he could speak on any one of the verses, according to the biography, for 10-15 minutes on any verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita at the age of 7. Pretty exceptional. It is said he had a didactic memory. That is, anything he heard at any age, he remembered it perfectly well for the rest of his life. A gifted individual. When he was 13, so it's traditional for a young Brahmin boy, he was given Japa beads, Mahamantra, and Nrsinga mantra, as well as the Nrsinga deity by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As he was growing up, young boy growing up, who was not inclined to anything material, understood what the writing on the wall, and that is, Mom and Dad are going to expect that I become married. So he didn't want to get married, and he didn't want to continue with his education also because he understood what that meant. It's just a stepping stone towards having an occupation and getting married and doing the family thing. So instead, he consulted the king of Tripura, and for a good number of years, 11 years, he just became a librarian for the king. And of course, he read the entire library. And being of a didactic mind, that served him well later to explain this and that and the other thing from the king of Tripura's library. And the king was obviously a Vaishnava, otherwise he wouldn't have taken that service. So there was historical Vaishnava literature, along with other things that are in libraries. So that takes us up to 1905. And at this time, his father was still living in Puri. His father was moving about a little bit, but the family residence, his wife and their home and everything was in Puri. And there was a local Babaji who was a very popular person. And he made his residence right next to the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. Today, when you visit Puri, you'll see that when you visit the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed his body in the sand and everything, it's there. There's a shrine to commemorate the place, and in that same space, there's the Samadhi of Radha Ramana Charana Das Babaji. So he was a celebrity, like a really popular person at that time. And Bhaktisiddhanta took exception to two of his practices. He made up mantras that included names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and the Hare Krishna mantra, parts of the Hare Krishna mantra, kind of mixed them together. He came up with his own mantra. Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Rama. And so his followers were encouraged to chant his mantra. And Bhaktisiddhanta confronted him publicly and said, this is Rasabhas. Without all the detail, Bhaktisiddhanta was not one to be mild about things. He was called, in his biography, called the Shringa Guru. And when he saw a discrepancy, he would speak up. So people that were doing discrepancy, they would hide. It said, they saw him coming along the streets and went to the other side of the street. Because he wouldn't hesitate to challenge people that were doing nonsense. So this Radha Ramana Charana was doing nonsense. He was a Babaji, and extremely respected, but he didn't hesitate to confront him. And the second thing, he had a practice that one of his followers, he had his follower dressed up as a gopi. So he was training his follower to become a gopi. And that was a deviation from Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So he confronted him on both accounts. And it caused an uproar because he was a popular personality, living by the side of Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. And so his father said, because his father didn't have that same propensity to confront, he said, you've made a big uproar here in Puri, and I think it's a good idea if you don't continue doing this type of thing, just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Don't challenge these people that are... Because this was an issue between the two of them. We mentioned this yesterday. Here we go again. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very liberal, restoring Krishna Bhakti in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knowing what Krishna Bhakti was and knowing what deviation was. But when he went about it in a very gentle, step-by-step, progressive way to establish this is the real doctrine and that over there is bogus. It's a deviation from. So he said to Bhaktivinoda said to his son, you've made a big uproar. My recommendation is, so he looked to his father as like his guru, and you just chant Hare Krishna and stop this business. And on that circumstance, Bhaktisiddhanta decided that he would perform an austerity starting at the age of 31. So the years, you see the same years we saw the slide before, 1905 to 1914, 11 years. He took a vow that he would chant 1 billion names. And to chant 1 billion names, he would chant 3 times 64 rounds every day. Every day for years. And so every day for years, 192 rounds, took him 16 hours, which means essentially 5 minutes around. You do the math. I did the math. That's chanting pretty swiftly. I can't chant one round in 5 minutes, but he did. And he did it for 9 years. Superhuman. And when he he left Puri, he went to Navadvip, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And for some period of time, he went to the Yogpith. What's the Yogpith? The birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And for 4 years at that place, he built a grass hut and stayed inside the grass hut. And after some time, after 4 years, he moved. He was establishing his headquarters, which was then known as the House of Chandrasekhar Acharya. If you're a little bit familiar with Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was an elder, Vaishnava, very respected elder Vaishnava, and it's now the headquarters. It's now the place of the Gaudiya Math, or Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, one of 64 months, but it says the headquarters, and down the road, Bhakti Siddhanta Road. And there was nothing, it was just jungle, forest and jungle. But he established a house near the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. So he had by this time become quite familiar with the places of Navadvip, etc., etc. The teachings fit together. And later, his followers built this, what you see now on the screen. He just had a hut, and they built what you see on the screen. So there he is in his murti form, sitting, chanting the holy name. And this is the same, a little bit closer up. And so this is at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, and very near to where the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya is or was, he establishes deities. Eventually, in course of time, the place where he did his Namavrata became his headquarters. And the deities that he installed are pictured here. Gandharvika, Giridhari, a very unusual name and pastime about how the deities came. And there's two stories. They're similar but different. One story is told by Jananivas, and when Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to establish this place where he performed the japa and so forth, he wanted to establish a deity. So he and some disciples went to the place where you buy deities, to Jaipur. And when he went into a shop, the shop owner said, "Over there, your deities, please take them." And Bhaktisiddhanta replied, "How do you know that these are my deities?" And the shop owner said, "Last night I had a dream. These deities came to me in a dream and said, tomorrow a Mahapurusha will come here and will want to buy deities from you. You want him to serve us. We want him to serve us." So that in his dream, the deities that were in his shop said, we want him to serve us. Tomorrow there's a Mahapurusha coming to your shop. We want him to do our seva. So when Bhaktisiddhanta came, he said, "You please take them." He gave the deities to him. And the installation of the deities were on the same day occasion of Bhaktisiddhanta's sannyas, and we know the procedure of his sannyas. unique. I mean, very unique. Before a picture of Gorkishoras Babaji, who he was accepting, or is accepting, as his Shiksha Guru. In front of his picture of Gorkishoras Babaji, he accepted vows of initiation, and the same day the deities were installed. There's a different version, and here's the different version. So the same, the place of bhajan where he made his Namavrata. The next year, for the purpose of establishing Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, Bhakti Siddhanta went with some devotees to Jaipur to bring deities. They went to several shops to see what deities were available. When Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur expresses attraction for a particular set of Radha Krishna deities, the shopkeeper said that these deities had been sold already, so he couldn't take them. Bhakti Siddhanta left and returned to his room. That evening, Bhakti Siddhanta had a dream of the same deity instructing him. What happened? Instructing him that he needs to return to the same shopkeeper and install the deity in Mayapur. The deities appeared in his dream. Same thing, I want to be worshipped by you. Go back to the shopkeeper and tell them that I didn't want to be worshipped by you. So he went back and he told the shopkeeper about his dream. The shopkeeper not only sold them to him, but he gave the deity as a gift. So here's the deity, and here's the installation date when he accepted sannyas, etc. And here in his headquarters, those of you that have visited, anyone who's visited his place, the Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, he had a house, a 2-story house, which is unique in Bengal and well constructed, and he had a study place, a writing place, study place up on the 2nd floor. And there he wrote assiduously. And along with his writings, he was an iconoclast. He, based upon teachings of Rupa Goswami, for example, he broke the sannyas traditional rule that you don't ride in a vehicle. You're not carried in a palanquin, and you don't ride in a vehicle. So he purchased, at that time, a convertible. And dressed in sewn clothes, drove through the streets of Vrindavan, waving at everybody. No, he is a tradition breaker. But he, standing on what the proper understanding is. So he made some enemies. And we're going to hear about some of those enemies. He had a vision following what his father had written and was intending to do. So he then established a plan for sending disciples to go to England. It's a big, big, big event. Big, big, big event. Big, big, big event. I mean, just out there off in the field, and he constructed big arches just off in the field. And, procession, with him leading the procession, and kirtan, and as they were sending off his 2 sannyas disciples, who were going to be going to England and trying to establish Krishna consciousness. And as England was ruling India, he sent Indian disciples to go to England to establish Krishna consciousness. Very bold. Very bold. Along with his plan, this is a very important detail, he wanted the persons traveling to have information for the people that are English speaking, a book written in English. So he, Bhaktisiddhanta, was waiting for the book to be finished and printed. And so there was a professor in Cuttack, was his disciple, and he was writing the book Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts. No, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the title of the book. Again, with the life and precepts in the book. Eventually, it was made available. Eventually, he sent to people. And around this time is when Bhaktisiddhanta and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met. He was in Calcutta. Here's the rooftop of the place where they met. And there's, what ISKCON has done is made a nice little shrine or something to indicate where they first met. Mandap. And the sitting place. So here's a BBT painting where Bhaktisiddhanta, the celebrated story, how Prabhupada became a devotee, was introduced to Bhaktisiddhanta. A friend of his, we're not sure who that is in the painting, encouraged him to come, encouraged him to come, encouraged him to come. Eventually he had met many sadhus. They didn't find them so genuine, so he wasn't so interested. But his friend insisted, so he went. And at that, you know the story. At the time, Prabhupada was a Gandhi follower, so he spoke Gandhiisms. And Bhaktisiddhanta, now is not the time to go to the West, because India needs to become free from British rule first, because otherwise the British won't expect us. So Bhaktisiddhanta gave, as you see, the shaking finger, a 20-minute answer that is consistent with the principle that there's nothing material that can cause and nothing material that can stop bhakti. So it doesn't matter don't wait for become free from British rule. At any time is a good time. There's many nice sayings that are attributed to him. Here's one. All those conditioned souls who consider apparent impediments to their happiness are harmful, or the cruelty of the Supreme Lord. See only the first move in the chess game. They're unable to foresee what lies beyond the fourth and fifth move. If you've ever had some hardship, sometimes devotees have hardships. If you ever have a hardship, this is a good one to remember. Apparent impediments to their happiness. I know some people that have some apparent impediments to their happiness, and they get really, negative emotion zone, big time. So if there's something that's happening, I've been asked the same question like 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Such and such, how to understand Krishna's plan. And you may not understand Krishna's plan. But the way to understand Krishna's plan is to be Krishna connected. Otherwise you won't understand. If you're Krishna connected, Krishna will give the intelligence and give you a clear indication what his plan is. You go with his plan because you're a devotee. But if you're not a devotee, you won't have that clear understanding. So you have to be patient and become Krishna conscious. And that ultimately, sanctioned by Krishna in the life of a devotee is beneficial for them, whatever that reason might be. One of the contributions of Bhaktisiddhanta was what you see in the painting here. or that photograph. This is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because his father had rediscovered the actual birthplace instead of the wrong place that was being accepted on the western side of the Ganga, etc., etc., etc. So once it was confirmed, Bhaktivinoda built a little simple shelter facility, and he requested later his son to build something more formal and beautiful. So that's what you see on the screen. And as they were digging the foundation to establish this nice temple, because even in Bengal you have to have a foundation for building, they dug and dug and dug and dug, and when they dug down, they found the Adhokshaja Vishnu deity that was known to have been worshipped by Jagannath Mishra. So there is the deity on the altar. There's a close-up of the deity on the altar. It's a bas-relief deity, but that's fine. Confirming, through archaeological evidence that, yes, this is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some other celebrated events in his life. He went to Dhaka. He was busy traveling here and there. And when he was in Dhaka for, I forget what the duration, it was either a fortnight or a whole month or something like that. He spoke on one verse, the first verse of the Bhagavatam, and didn't repeat himself, making many points and many points and many points. In other words, eloquent speaker, vastly learned speaker. And this is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. This is the professor from Orissa, Kathak College in Orissa, who wrote the book, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And in the Sri Krishna Chaitanya, there's some description of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his mission and so forth. So this is March 33. In May 33, they established a little place. And there wasn't too much more than just establishing a little place. Sometime later, as I mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta had enemies. So here's a photograph of a kirtan party in the downtown streets of Navadvip. Navadvip was the town at that time, and still, where there was many, 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 many buildings, and part of the thing was, it was accepted that that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had appeared. So one time, when they were having kirtan through the streets of Navadvip, he got word that there were some brahmanas who had hired some thugs to kill him. And the thugs wanted the cooperation of the police. So they came and offered a bribe to the police. Look the other way, we're going to get him. And the police said, we normally take bribes, but he's a sadhu. We won't take your bribe. The police, informed Bhaktisiddhanta, during your kirtan procession in Navadvip, there's going to be a plan to kill you. There is a plan to kill you. So watch out. And sure enough, when they had their kirtan, the thugs came out, and there was a plan. And the plan was, there was a householder who was essentially the same height and stature of Bhaktisiddhanta, lean and thin. And so they changed clothes. The householder gave Bhaktisiddhanta his clothes, and Bhaktisiddhanta gave the householder his clothes. And when the thugs came, they became confused. They didn't beat up on the other person who was wearing Bhaktisiddhanta's clothes because they didn't know who he was. They were thugs. But Bhaktisiddhanta escaped by the protection of this nice Vaishnava. Enemies. Some of his teachings, nice. Harikatha is the Swarup Shakti of Harinam. Yesterday evening there was a question, what's Swarup Shakti? It's Krishna's own potency. And the Katha is a nice understanding. Katha, like the Vedas, is feminine. The Vedas is feminine. Through the mother, one can know who is the father. The Vedas reveal the personality of Godhead. And he, Bhaktisiddhanta, was saying, it's not sufficient just to chant Harinam without Harikatha, because you get the wrong understanding. Just as Krishna is properly worshipped not alone, but with Radha, his Swarup Shakti. So it's saying that Harinam is improper without Harikatha, which is Krishna's Swarup Shakti. So the two go well together. Bhagavad Katha and Harinam. Clear? Okay, good. Here's some nice writing. He took the Chaitanya Bhagavat and made a commentary on every single verse, and here's taken from Chaitanya Bhagavat. The characteristics of Prahlad are described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Characteristics of Dhruva, 4th canto. Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was a speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Gaurasundar was a listener. He, Lord Chaitanya, attentively heard topics about Prahlad and Dhruva's cultivation of devotional service from the mouths of Gadadhar hundreds of times. So, something that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did when in Puri, as he spent some time each day giving his association to Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit every day worshipped the deity that Lord Chaitanya requested him to worship, the Gopinath deity, and similarly to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Chaitanya would come to hear him recite, dance before the deity and hear him reciting Bhagavatam. And the recitation in Bhagavatam, at least the favorite for Lord Chaitanya, maybe also for the speaker, was the story of Dhruva and Prahlad. Anyway, it's nice understanding. Here's a nice photograph of Bhaktisiddhanta meeting at his headquarters in Chaitanya Gaudiya Math with the governor of Bengal. The governor of Bengal, of course, was a British man, the fellow on the left. And James try to make it bigger. Anderson. John Anderson. So, table, this and that. According to time, place, and circumstances, as a sannyasi, he engaged things. We see paintings or photographs where he's in his, sannyas attire. And here he's wearing white. Receiving the governor of Bengal. And he accommodated time, place, circumstance in the service of the personality of Godhead. That was his motto. While at the same time as Nrsinga Guru, he was very accommodating. Here's a close-up of that photograph. Couple more points and we can end. This is the Gandharvika Giridhari deity. And when he established the deity, one of the things that Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to do was establish the unity amongst the four sampradayas, indicating that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted all four sampradayas, and he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, incorporated two and two teachings from each of the four sampradayas, so that there was energy, because he wanted to bring unity where there was disunity. So on the four corners, when I visited, on the four corners of the temple of Gandharvika Giridhari, there are little murtis to go along with a book that he had written, The Four Sampradayas. It's a nice book, and there's details and details, Bhaktisiddhanta style, lots of details, where the center of the unifying teaching was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then there's the four sampradaya teachers. Now today, those four deities in the four corners of the temple have been replaced with others. They're larger and more ornate, more contemporary in their art features. But it's following a principle. So here's, according to Bhaktisiddhanta's own writing, here's the two teachings from each of the four sampradayas that the four sampradaya acharyas accept and Lord Chaitanya accepted. Two. He chose Madhva's line. It is said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose Madhva's line because he was so strong in defeating Mayavad philosophy. And Madhvacharya also had very strong and very paka standards of worshipping of the deity form of Krishna. So Mahaprabhu adopted that. In Ramanujacharya, very central, as we know from Rupa Goswami's teachings, bhakti is unpolluted by karma and gyan, and rendering service to the devotees. So he lived that way, and he taught that way, and he's saying that Ramanujacharya gave that same teaching, which was incorporated by Mahaprabhu. Now, Vishnu Swami and the Nimbarka Sampradaya are particularly alike the Ragamarg portion of Mahaprabhu's teaching. The sentiments of inclusive sentiment, exclusive dependence on Krishna, and the path of Raga Bhakti. Now, Vishnu Swami followers hold these two as very prominent, and Mahaprabhu accepted them as well. Necessity of taking shelter of Radha, and the high esteem for the gopis' love for Krishna. Now, that can become cheapened, but the Nimbarkacharya followers didn't cheapen it. They held it and still hold it in a proper manner. And Lord Chaitanya similarly. These were pillars in the four sides of this temple. In it, so once again, Lord Chaitanya accepted these 8 doctrines that are very prominent in each one of the four sampradayas for the purpose of bringing unity. So he Bhaktisiddhanta, beat the drum and blew on the trumpet. He wanted unity while respecting differences, unity and diversity. Celebrated event. This is a painting of an event Prabhupada recounted. Bhaktisiddhanta, every year would take devotees to Vrindavan on Prikrama. And Bhaktisiddhanta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada went from time to time with his son, one of his sons, and they're walking, the painting is showing on the occasion of walking around Radhakund, an instruction was given by Bhaktisiddhanta to Prabhupada. Far more important than building temples is the printing of books, because the temples will crumble and perish, but the books will live forever. So if you ever get money, print books. And Prabhupada took it seriously, and he followed it. This is a place of just a nice painting at Radhakund. He had a Pushpa Samadhi established right next to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Pushpa Samadhi, and I'll show you on a map where the place is. Here's a particular chair that he styled. It's his chair that he, big armrests, unique style, sitting, folding chair. And this is where he sat. Whoops. On the right side is a chair and a desk and his bed. Very simple. So he didn't sleep on the floor, but he slept like this. And here's what's on the bed. His wooden shoes and little cane. And as his deity in Navadvip or in Mayapur is Gandharvika Giridhari, he established this Radha Kunja Bihari temple here in Vrindavan by Radhakund. So it shows you on the map where the temple is, how to get there. There's this in the center of the drawing on the left, there's Radhakund. And on the right, there's this little place where he stayed and the temple itself. And we're going to go inside and see the deity inside. So there's a sitting place in this temple inside, sitting place for Bhaktisiddhanta, and then his deities, Radha Kunja Bihari. Okay, nice. Now there's many nice sayings, and I'm going to end with this. Many, many, many nice sayings. God is the shelter of all. He sends many obstacles. Here we're going, dealing with obstacles again. He sends many obstacles and inconveniences to those who wish for shelter under him in order to test their ardor and steadiness. So he used the medium of letter writing to give teachings, and many of those letters are still, sayings from those letters are available. There's a big section in this Array of Vishnu book, his biography of his life, that includes a number of those nice sayings that he wrote letters to explaining. Srila Prabhupada did the same, and Prabhupada is following Bhaktisiddhanta, who did the same. So that's what I wanted to present in honor of the Disappearance Day of Bhaktisiddhanta. 1 hour has passed. Let's see if there's some discussion. And there's a way for people that are online to send something if they want. So, huh? Okay, or they can send something to the chat box, either. To those of you who are attending, if there are some, you can send something and we'll respond. Anything in the room? Comments, questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. One is an appreciation. The vows of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj are like superhuman. The chanting of 1 billion names, or even to me the mango nut having a mango for the rest of the life and the vow taken at the age of 3 are really superhuman. That's just
not ordinary.
Not ordinary. And the question that I have is, with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was given a Kurma deity to worship when he as a child,
Yes.
in his young age. We see in life of Srila Prabhupada about Radha Krishna deities being given.
Yeah.
But is there a significance of Kurma deity?
Yes, the explanation given is Kurma establishes a foundation. And worshipping Kurma deity was for the purpose of helping Bhaktisiddhanta establish a firm foundation for a life of devotion. That's the explanation that's given. Yeah?
In one of the slides, you showed the Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur next to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I saw one more personality there. Who is that next to Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Let's go back to the picture. Okay. I don't read Bengali, but somebody that reads Bengali could maybe tell us what it says. But what I can do is I'll find out from somebody that does read Bengali what it says. There's a photo at the top. There's something Bengali at the bottom. And I know a few devotees that are Bengali, and they'll tell me the name. So tonight we can give you the answer.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Huh? It's in Hindi? Okay. Well, if you speak Hindi, she speaks Hindi, for sure. So you look over the same picture. I'll send you the slide and you tell me later. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi, in honor of Bhaktisiddhanta. I think what I'm going to do is add, for the next time I do this, his pranam mantras, because there's 4 of them, but I'll add it to this so we can just add his pranam mantras to the presentation. And we'll find out who this person is. And I'll add that too. Okay.